Ink Ribbon.
I first played Silent Hill Origins back in the early 2000s, and I honestly remembered it being kind of meh, but I recently started replaying it on my PSP and I was blown away at how well this game has aged. The story, the characters, the environments, and even the gameplay hold up really well, and I am very excited to tell you guys about my findings. From development disasters to fursuits, here is my list of the top 10 secrets and Easter eggs in Silent Hill Origins.
Number 10.
Silent Hill 1 Connections. One of the main goals of Origins development was to make it feel like the original game, especially since this game is its prequel. Origins takes place 7 years before the events of Silent Hill 1, and it has a few nods to the original. One of the best ones is easy to miss. At the top of the staircase across the Alchemilla Hospital, Travis can find moth cocoons. In Silent Hill 1, Harry fights the giant moth boss on the roof at the same spot. Speaking of the hospital, one of the interesting things that this game did was slightly change the layout of the first floor, but it's forgivable considering how great they recreated it. Also in the town are various locations such as the Konami Burger, and heading to the final boss leads you through the antique shop from the first game. And lastly, the good ending shows Alessa holding a baby, which preludes the beginning of the series and how Harry and his wife found her as a baby in the first place.
Number 9.
PS2 Differences. I was really curious to learn what they changed when they ported the game to the PS2. Maybe new weapons or costumes? And while they did improve the graphics, not much else was changed. However, the game has a lot of differences on the PS2. Unlike the PSP, the PS2 version is filled with glitches, bugs, and various issues. Among these are various icon and menu glitches. During melee combat, sometimes Travis will push enemies through walls. Throwable weapons occasionally don't affect enemies and set you up to be grabbed by them. Sometimes when Travis stomps on enemies, his foot goes right through them, doing no damage. And the camera also tends to go into Travis's head, causing terrifying results. And probably the most noticeable thing is that for some reason the PS2 version is very, very dark. So, if you are going to play this game, please do yourself a favor and play the PSP version.
Number 8.
Original concept. Silent Hill Origins had a very rocky start to its development, which I'll get into in a bit, but the first iteration of the game was very different from the final product. The final version of Origins is definitely a bit more action-oriented than other games in the series, but in the original version it barely resembled a horror game. This is because when it was being developed, Resident Evil 4 had come out, and as we all know, it was kind of a big deal. So naturally, they tried to turn Silent Hill Origins into an RE4 ripoff, with almost all the focus on the action. Some remnants of this were left behind, such as the melee weapons and QuickTime events, but most of it was scrapped. Among the original version were a lot of removed features such as over-the-shoulder camera, gun laser sights, a much more arcade feel to the controls, and an option to barricade certain areas to stop or slow down enemies. And it doesn't end there. We will talk more about the development later in this video.
Number 7.
Unlockables. When it comes to replay value, Silent Hill Origins is lacking a bit, but it more than makes up for it with the amount of unlockables it has. It actually has the most unlockables of any Silent Hill game to date, with a total of 14 costumes, 4 special weapons, 3 endings, and a set of unique extra options. For the costumes, you will need to complete tasks called accolades, and the unlockables are as follows. For the Savior costume, simply beat the game to get a cool leather outfit and bonus moon gauntlets, which can down any enemy with one hit and are unbreakable. For the Fireman costume, you need to save Alessa from the fire within about 80 seconds. It comes with a handy unbreakable fire axe as a bonus weapon. For the Explorer accolade, you need to travel a total of 22.5 kilometers, which is not as simple as you'd think, but if you want Travis to look like Indiana Jones, then it's worth it. The Cartographer accolade can be done by completing the game without looking at your map more than 25 times, which is very hard to do if you're navigationally challenged like me, but you will get this outfit as a reward. If you complete the game in less than 2 hours, you get the Sprinter accolade and this jogging suit, which gives Travis infinite stamina while running. If you want some Otacon aesthetics for Travis, you can get the Collector accolade by picking up more than 300 items during your playthrough. If you can beat the game without saving, you get the Daredevil accolade and unleash Travis's Fursona. For the Stalker accolade, you need to keep your flashlight use under 3 hours, and as a reward you get the tactical uniform and the annoyingly useless night vision goggles. Killing more than half the enemies with your fists gets you the Brawler accolade and this Luchador outfit. Killing 75% of the enemies with a firearm gets you the Sharpshooter outfit. Killing 75% of the enemies with melee weapons gets you the Weaponsmith outfit. If you kill more than 130 enemies, you get the Butcher accolade, which is one of the coolest outfits in the game, and you get the Great Cleaver as a bonus weapon. For the Ambassador outfit, just get the UFO ending. This is one of the best accolades if you like guns because you get the Tesla rifle with unlimited ammo as a bonus. And lastly, we have the Codebreaker outfit, which seems familiar somehow. To get this one, you need to enter the famous Konami code at any point during gameplay. Up, up, down, down, left, right, X, circle. And lastly, the unlockable extra options consist of the usual things, but it's worth mentioning that you can change the projection of Travis's flashlight to a smiley face, a soccer ball, a jack-o'-lantern, and the mark of Samael.
Number 6.
Near Disaster. Silent Hill fans are extremely passionate and dedicated to their series, so when there are development choices made that don't hold true to the core values of Silent Hill, well, they don't take kindly to it. I know that Origins isn't the best regarded game in the series, but it was almost much, much worse. After Silent Hill 4, Team Silent disbanded for unknown reasons, and development of the next game was sent to Climax Studios in Los Angeles, making it the first Silent Hill game to be developed in the West. Development had been going as usual until it was reviewed by Mark Simmons and Sam Barlow, who were the director and designer for Origins. Once Konami saw what had been done, they shut down production and Climax Studios in LA closed. Production was then moved to Climax London and development resumed. The two guys I mentioned earlier pretty much rescued the game. In an interview with Edge magazine, they revealed that the game, aside from being overambitious with a lack of direction, was also a bastardization of the story, setting, characters, and even the monsters. The script for the story was written as a comedy. Yes, Silent Hill Origins was intended to be a dark comedy, inspired by the TV show Scrubs. Yes, that Scrubs. How that would have worked, I have absolutely no idea, but I think it's safe to say that it wouldn't have gone over well with fans. So going back to London development, the directors of the game pitched their changes to Konami, who then approved them as long as it meant that they stayed within the budget, and they agreed. Shortly after, the gameplay was rebuilt, story was rewritten, and we got the Silent Hill Origins that we know now. As fans of the series themselves, the directors worked hard to make a good Silent Hill game, specifically using the first game as their main source of inspiration. One last thing to note about development is that even though Team Silent had disbanded, the music was still composed by Akira Yamaoka, the man who has made all of the legendary music for every Silent Hill game, and the vocals for 4 of the tracks were provided by Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, who voiced Mary and Maria in the Silent Hill 2 HD collection.
Number 5.
Artuad Theater. One of the levels in the game takes place in the theater called the Artuad Theater, and I wanted to mention it because I think it's one of the most well-designed levels, not just in this game, but in the series. The theater is named after French playwright Antonin Artaud. Artaud is infamous for his essays on the theater of cruelty, which was a type of theater that focused on surrealism and making the audience uncomfortable or scared, which is the best flavor for a Silent Hill experience. Originally, the theater was modeled after the Orpheum Theater, but was redesigned to be more original. Along with the level theme were the enemies, which are these creepy marionette puppet things that are specifically themed after Shakespeare's body of work called The Tempest. And one last bit of trivia is that the cave set you can create is called Owl Cave and is likely a nod to the TV series Twin Peaks, which had a location with the same name.
Number 4.
Lisa Garland. One of the major supporting characters from the first game, Lisa, returns, and this time we get to see a whole other side of her that shines a light on some of the more negative aspects of her as a character, and also elaborates on her background a bit. At the start, we meet her in the hospital, and she is the Lisa that we already know. kind and caring to Travis as expected, but then becomes very distant and behaving oddly, almost seductive towards Travis, only to break and reveal that she had dreamed of being an actress and gave up her dreams to be a nurse, since it was family tradition and expected of her. Even though she starts out warm, throughout the game Lisa becomes colder and colder towards Travis. As you proceed through the game, you start seeing that a common theme with her is obeying Dr. Kaufman, and the implications get increasingly disturbing. The worst is in the motel when Travis walks into what appears to be Lisa and Dr. Kaufman composing themselves after having drug-fueled sex, which, for Lisa's character, is pretty shocking. When analyzing this further, it gets increasingly disturbing, as a common theory is that Dr. Kaufman was controlling Lisa with drugs that he got her addicted to and grooming her for his own personal needs. The reason I mention this is because in the first game, in one of the endings, Lisa emerges and pulls Kaufman down with her, which was never completely explained. I'm not sure if this was to elaborate on that, but I guess that's yet another fan theory to throw onto the pile.
Number 3.
Michael Kaufman. While Kaufman isn't the most prominent character in Origins, he actually had a much bigger part in the original storyline. Originally, he was going to be the one orchestrating most of the events of the game while disguised as a character named Mr. Twilight. This mysterious character wore a mask with 2 expressions and was the leader of the Order cult. He would always be seen in the shadows, but not revealed to be Kaufman until the climax of the game, where Travis would tackle him and peel off his mask. Kaufman would then throw White Claudia, the fictional drug in Silent Hill, right into his face and send him into Alessa's dream. The unused model of Mr. Twilight was repurposed as the cultists in both the intro and the bad ending, but they are only very briefly seen.
Number 2.
The Butcher. Originally, the Butcher was Pyramid Head, depicted as a cannibal cook in the motel, but when London Studios took over development, he was changed to the Butcher we know now. Along with this change was the removal of any sexualized behavior such as the twitchy movements that Pyramid Head is known for, and instead is replaced with a calm and lucid behavior, making him feel more like a killer than a monster. It wouldn't be Silent Hill without some fan theories about symbolism, and the Butcher doesn't disappoint. Generally, fans consider the Butcher to represent the cruelty of sacrifice. There's also a lot of belief that the Butcher actually represents Travis himself, which is heavily implied throughout the bad ending, but that's as far into that theory as I'm going to go in this video.
Number 1.
Travis Grady. Before we get into the Travis trivia, it's worth mentioning that he actually made a cameo in the second Silent Hill movie.
You're lucky I came by. Haven't been this way in a long time. Travis Grady.
Vincent.
Aside from that, he has a few things that make him stand out from other characters in the series. For one, he's the oldest living character in the franchise currently. He also is the only character with the ability to travel in and out of the otherworld of his own free will via the mirror system. And Travis is the only main character in the series to never ever use profanity.
Shut your stinking mouth, bitch!
Travis went through a few changes throughout development, but nothing too major aside from being named Jack at one point. One notable change was that, much like Walter Sullivan, early images show a young manifestation of Travis as a child in the game, but these were removed in favor of using his child self in flashbacks. In the original UFO ending, it was going to be revealed that the whole game was just a nightmare, but with a big twist. The person having the nightmare was Solid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. There was also another draft of the UFO ending that was essentially the UFO ending from Silent Hill 1 copied verbatim. Also unused were the original endings of the game, which broke the canon so dramatically that most Silent Hill fans' heads would have exploded if that version was released. In the normal ending, Travis would wake up tied to a bed with drugs by his side, only to learn that he had been killing all the residents of Silent Hill in a drug-induced rage. Then Travis goes insane, thanks to Alessa, and he becomes Pyramid Head. Yeah. And that's it for this list. A big thank you to the channel PTOP Online for making this very in-depth video covering the original version of the game. There are only a handful of articles talking about the original beta, and this video was the only one I could find to prove that it was real, and I've linked it in the description in case you want to watch the full video for yourself. If there's any other stuff that I missed, please let me know down in the comments. If you liked this video, then click that like button to let the YouTube algorithm know what you enjoy, and feel free to subscribe to my channel for more. I'm Kai Morgan, and as always, thanks for watching Ink Ribbon. And a very special thank you to my bronze, silver, and gold Patreon supporters. Thanks to you, I can make videos without worrying about demonetization and grow my channel faster.